UFO sightings and news of allegations regarding the recoveries of crashed craft and non-human intelligence is becoming more and more mainstream in the media. However, when it comes to the topic of alien sightings, these accounts and witnesses are still considered to be on the fringes of the UFO phenomenon. In this episode, Jimmy Church and I will be covering and looking into several such prominent cases. Welcome to Mysteries with a History. We'll be taken on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. And with each episode together, we will peel away the layers to look for the truth. Let me bring in my co-host, Jimmy Church of FADETOBLACKRadio. Jimmy, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday.
Hey, how you doing, Cristina? You good? Are you good?
I'm pretty good today. Almost every day.
You're glowing. Must be the ramen. That's good. That's good.
All that grease and salt and MSG.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I ramened twice this week. I did. But my secret. Well, I've discussed this before. That little packet in the trash. I don't do that. But you know what I bought about a week ago, right when I got back from Peru? I'd never seen it before. I bought Chick-fil-A sweet and sour sriracha. Big bottle. Let me tell you, that just right on the top, right on top of the ramen. Some pepper. So good. Yeah, it got you thinking, didn't it? It got you thinking.
You can't go wrong with that kind of stuff. But see, people, they didn't come for the ramen stories, which we have the best recipes, by the way. But they came for the cases that we are about to cover. And I think
they did. Aliens too. Oh, by the way, I took can I tell everybody? I might as well. Cristina gifted me a couple of years ago, I think it was for my birthday, an alien eating ramen t-shirt, right? And so I took that to Peru, and I'm marching around Peru, and I had so many people from Peru coming up, dude, liking the shirt, man. And it was pretty cool. I wear stuff nobody ever says anything. Aliens eating ramen. Yeah, man. Compliments. Yep. That's why they're here. No doubt about it.
Just for that. But let's start off first with a more recent case that took place in honestly between 2007 to 2009 in Turkey. I'm going to share my screen here, and we also have a video for this one as well, because it's a really fascinating case. And while it's impressive that many would consider, it's not talked about as much as maybe it should be. But Jimmy, what case am I talking about?
Well, you're talking about it's Kumburgis in Turkey. Shot on the coast. This was shot over a 3-year period. There's 3 sets of videos, 2007, 2008, and 2009. It was shot by a night guard. His name was Yalcin Yalman. And also Dr. Roger Lear was involved in 08 and 09 in these as a witness to these videos. Now, the video itself, the videos, you've got this image. I've got a bunch of images too as well. That it really attracted my attention. I have spent hours. I watched these videos till my eyes were bleeding, and I'm not exaggerating. I just watched them over and over and over and over and over again. I was freeze framing and enlarging and doing what everybody else was doing at the time. It was a fascinating thing to watch. And now the video clips were shot from a great distance. And Yalman had a 200 times optical adapter on his video camera. Okay, so that's the other thing. Video cameras these days, not your cell phone, but like a camera will have like an 8 times zoom, a 10 times zoom. If you're lucky, a 20 times optical zoom. He had a 200x optical adapter that allowed him to shoot miles out in and over the ocean to capture these clips. So that's a very unique thing. That's why they're in such high detail, even though it's a great distance, and some have suspected it was shot right at the horizon, and it could be a variety of different things, which we will get into. But what was interesting about these videos, and I'm going back to originally, the videos themselves were handed over on live television in Turkey from Yalman to a research organization, and he handed off the videos, and they started the analysis. Then when they finally made their way onto the internet, and it's been a minute now, probably 10, 12, 13 years. I was able to grab the raw video off of the internet and freeze frame it and enlarge it, and then especially back then, I had the best computer that I could afford at that time, and I was able to analyze as much as I could. But when I was watching the videos, Cristina, I'll never forget it. I was like, that's somebody in a window. And I remember just like looking back and watching it again. And I don't know if it's a case of just human DNA where you think you see a face because that's our DNA. And so we're always looking at faces first when we look around.
Right, pareidolia.
Yeah, well, not only that, but somebody crossing the street or whatever, that's going to catch your attention. Your mom's face is going to catch your attention, and so it was like this clip here. This is when I remember looking at this going, that's somebody standing there. And I, because it was called a UFO, I was thinking aliens even back then. As you look at these videos, what goes through your mind?
It's one that's really bizarre. And what needs to be mentioned when covering this case is that a handful of organizations and private investigators have looked at this, have looked at the authenticity of the video. And for instance, it included the Scientific and Technical Council of Turkey and the Tug National Observatory. And it was even looked at by people in Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Russia, all of them looking at this video. And while they might they might think of it to be a hoax, when looking over the video, they're saying, it's authentic. It's an authentic one. Now, could it be people in costumes? People had mentioned, oh, that's exactly what it is. A little hoax where, yes, it's a real video per se. It wasn't doxed in any way or like photoshopped, but it could have been people in costumes. And that's a possibility that many people consider. But even so,
I'm sorry about that. Let me pull that down. Pop your video back in. Okay, I got it. See, I have control over Christina's computer.
Not over the computer, but in StreamYard. Yeah.
I said that wrong. Anyway, I have some images ready to go too. Obviously, people can see that. Now, this is from 2009. Continue with that thought about the independent investigation.
Right. So with that, people don't have a definite answer on exactly what it is, but there have been screenshots, and I showed that image a little bit earlier of when there's a freeze frame and you zoom in on this craft that we're seeing right now. You see two beings that look like your typical grays. When looking at this video, it was from 2008, 2009, because there are a handful of different ones. What I'm showing you on screen on YouTube is 2009. If you are listening to this on a podcast platform, that YouTube link is in the description box below for you to look at the video. But during this time frame, quality was not good, especially when recording at night. Even today, when there are super fancy cell phones, when it comes to filming anything at night, you're going to get absolute garbage. And this is no exception.
Yeah, well, remember, this was shot. Okay, stop the video right there. Just freeze it. When it zooms back in. Bring it back in. I'm going to tell it. Right, you can stop it like right here.
This is what you're gonna get.
Well, no, there's you can get a crisp shot. Just go up frame by frame, and because there's a line. Okay, so you can stop it here. You can right there. That's perfect. Okay. Let me set up a couple of things. This was shot from an apartment or a building on a beach. You're looking at the ocean all the way out to the horizon where the edge of the water is. This craft, this object, whatever it is behind that. So the line that you see always at the bottom of the screen, that's the edge of the water. We don't see the full craft. Whatever it is, we're only seeing the top part of it because the water is blocking it off from below. The horizon is 12 miles, okay, if you're at sea level. So when you look out and you see the edge of the water, that is 12 miles away. That's how far, and that's why this video was shaky, because this guy is shooting the video at an object that is 12 miles away and trying to hold the camera steady. It's not on a tripod. All right, so that's problem number one, and where the shakiness of the video comes from. Problem number two is the distance. So this guy is focusing on something that is 12 miles away, nearly impossible to do. Thankfully, he had a 200 times optical adapter on his camera. It's not a digital zoom. This is a videotape, and it's not digital video. It's not DV. So therefore, it's pretty crisp and pretty clear. It's not pixelated like a digital zoom would be. Okay, so thankfully, we have all of those things in play. Considering the distance and everything else, it's actually a pretty good video. But this is where some of the skepticism comes in. Some have suggested that we are looking at the bridge or the top of a ship, a freighter, an ocean freighter, an ocean liner. And that's what we are seeing on the horizon. It's a ship, and we're just seeing the top part of the ship, and that's what's here. I don't know. Could be. The whole thing is strange. Is it possible to zoom in on people standing on the bridge of a ship from the distance of 12 miles? I kind of doubt it. That's somebody just said, that's super far. Yes, that is exactly what it is. It is super, super, super far. So, so that's what you're looking at here. Let's go ahead, and I've got images. Okay, let me pull up mine really quick, then we'll come back to the video.
And while you do that, Sir Grizz, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and
Right
I
on,
appreciate
Grizz.
that very much.
Right on, Grizz. Right on. Okay, so here is the line that I'm talking about. That's the ocean. Okay? All right, everybody? That's the line. These are separate video clips here, and these are stills from those video clips. And then these in 2009 of the video, which you started to show there, the videos of the lights line up with the videos from 2008. And that's what you're seeing here. So there's 2008. This is 2009, and this is 2009 superimposed over the 2008 image. Okay, you follow? That's what that is there. This next shot that I have, this is 2008, and then this is 2009. This is a year later, everybody. And also, Dr. Roger Lear was there for 2008 and 9. But now we're looking at these ridges. This is the possibility of a being there. This is the same section, and you can tell it does look very similar, considering that this was shot nearly a year apart. This is 5/29/2008. This is May 17th, 2009. Another part of the analysis here, again, is the breakdown and the alignment of these. They are identical, and the width is there too as well. In this next image, this is from the first part of the video that you had just shown. This is what originally caught my eye is this guy right here. And that's pretty strange. And in the video, you can see him move. Now, this is an artist rendering of what is going on. And here's another artist rendering of what may be going on the ship, showing 3 aliens. I'm just going to go through this as fast as I can. This image here always, because I saw it, you can see it in the video, and this is slightly enhanced. It's definitely enlarged, but in full frame as the video's rolling, that's what I saw. I mean, I sat up, I was like, what? And it caught my attention. So when I had mentioned you can see them moving, you can see whatever this is here is in a different position here and is in a different position here. And these are the frames, 7, 8, and 9. I always found that very, very, very compelling. Here is, I mean, I like I said, I'll never forget the first time that I saw this, Cristina. I literally was stopped in my tracks, and I just don't know. Could this be a human at a great distance? This is you could see them moving in the video, but this is 2008 and this is 2009. So if it's a ship like a freighter or some kind of ocean going vessel, you would assume a couple of things. One, that it wouldn't be in the exact same position, or number 2, be the exact same ship, or number 3, the exact view of where nothing has changed over a year. I always found that part of this alleged UFO ET sighting. It's a little tough to, but it's never truly been debunked.
Can I just first say how well prepared you are today with your little PowerPoint presentation? That deserves an applause, Jimmy. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, but that's all I got. I don't have anything else. What else are we talking about?
But you bring up some really good points, and there's something I want to mention. But first, right now, we have 489 people watching this live, only 166 likes. If you're enjoying the show thus far, hit that like button. It lets us know that you're enjoying the show, and it tells YouTube, hey, we want more content like this. And it is the easiest way to support this channel. Hit that like button right now. One thing that needs to be brought up that we have talked about so many times, it's a reoccurring theme when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. And you know what that is, Jimmy? Do you know what that is? Don't answer it. It's water. It's the water connection with UFOs, seeing them coming out of the water, going in the water, hovering over the water. And this case is no exception. Okay, people have heard me say it way too many times, but in a sentence, explain your aspect of that between UFOs and water.
Yeah, well, water is life. Okay, now, how rare is water in the rest of the universe? Don't know. We've seen water clouds floating in space. Yes. Okay. I get that. But how many planets have water? Comets are ice. That's how the water got here. Water isn't created on Earth. Water was brought here by comets hitting this planet. Okay. Look at Mars. Mars had water. Atmosphere gets blasted away. What happened? Right? All the water disappears. So is water special? And I would say yes. First off, water is life. But if you are driving and you run out of gas, you need to look for a gas station, right? Okay. Same thing here. This is planet Earth, right? This is a water station. Whole planet is covered with it, right? And so wouldn't it make sense that you would, at least stop by and top off your tank, right? Right? Drop some hoses in the water, going all the way up to the Nimitz encounter with Commander Fravor. There was a disturbance on the surface of the ocean, which appeared, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, and I don't want to disclose anything that may be private, but it appeared that Tic Tac was there for the water and may have been sucking it up out of the ocean. There might have been pipes, tubes, hoses coming off of that craft, and it was bubbling. It's not the first and it's not the last USO, UFO, or alien sighting in or around water where water appears to be being utilized.
And it will only keep repeating in a lot of the cases that we will cover in the future. It's a reoccurring theme, and it's just one that blows my mind every time. I talked about it, I think it was on Tuesday, and I was just like, why? There's so many potential explanations, but what if it's none of the above? And it's something just so...
What if it... Yeah. What if it's none of the above? And I've one of the best points about this, and I'm so glad that you brought it up, is we hear it over and over again. We're out exploring space, and we haven't even explored our seas, our oceans, that we've only mapped and discovered, up to 5%. 5%, right? There's 95% of the world's oceans have no human, nothing, right? It's a great place to hide, right? If you're a super villain, how many James Bond movies have we seen? Super villain with the lair in the ocean, right? That's what you do. You'd never be, man. I got to tell you, I've been out on the open ocean many times, and you just look around, it's a lonely place. That's where you don't want anything bad to happen because nobody's there to help, period. That's it. And so, yeah, it's a great place to hide. Yeah.
It is. Yep. And Cassidy, thank you so much for that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Getting on to our next aspect here. Another case that I'd like to cover where people see a UFO and then an extraterrestrial right after it. Let's look about Ilkley Moor. I think that's good place to go.
Love that case. Love that case.
I am going to share my screen here of an image. It's not like the best image, but then again, this took place in 1987, so it wasn't that great back then. Even today.
Why is Puck smiling so much? Is it you or Puck? Puck, both of you, you're next to each other with the same grin. It's like this. Yeah, it's like matching grins. Okay, so Ilkley Moor. All right, I'll take this one. I'll take this one. Ilkley Moor, which I've talked about it with you. I've covered this case, but it's crazy for a lot of different reasons. So I've got a little bit of a breakdown. Let's break this down. Yes. It's about retired police officer Philip Spencer. And he took a photograph, which is what Christina's got up on the screen right there, that he said was an alien being at the moor, at Ilkley Moor. I keep saying Ilkley. Ilkley Moor. According to Spencer, the being took off and ran after being photographed and left in a domed flying saucer. Now, he said he was walking up this hill, which, do you have a picture of the hill?
I can pull it up. Not a problem.
Okay. Pull up the picture of the hill in that area, because he says he was walking and he noticed something odd, which is always the story, right? And he looks, and it's a figure. And on this trail that you can see in the image, up ahead of him, he described the creature as dark green. And we're going to get to green men here today on the show. about 4 feet tall, big head, right? Long, thin arms, all the typical stuff that you would always have. But he says that the creature made a gesture, which he thought was telling him to stay away. He took his camera, took a picture of it. The creature took off. He followed it. He lost, some fog came in, loses the creature in the fog. I've seen this movie, by the way, right? And then he sees the craft rise up and fly into the sky. So he said that the craft was white. It had like 2 saucer-shaped parts that were attached, one on top of the other, an upside-down plate and a right-side-up plate kind of put together. It was loud, but he didn't take a picture of the craft. And so he then went to another town about a half hour away. When he arrived about 2 hours later than he was supposed to, he thought, well, okay, that's kind of strange. So then he went and had some regression therapy done, and he was hypnotized. And it was done by therapist Jim Singleton, and this was on March 16th, 1988. But under hypnosis, Cristina, he changed his story. That's right. And Singleton said, as the therapist, that it was a genuine recall, that he doesn't believe that any of this was made up. But Spencer's story changed. He now says that upon seeing the creature on the hill, that he was instantly paralyzed. This is under hypnosis. He said he was lifted up off the ground and pulled into the craft. He said he entered the craft and a voice told him to calm down. He said a group of green men, little green aliens, performed your traditional medical experiments on him, inserting stuff into his nose and into his mouth. Then he was invited to take a tour of the craft. Yeah. They took him around. They showed him a film of the world coming to an end, apocalyptic stuff, nuclear explosions, skinny people, famines, floods. Then he was shown a second film. He has never revealed the contents of the second film, saying that the aliens who abducted him do not want humanity to know. Very interesting. So then this is where the story changed, because originally he said that he was walking down the path, saw the creature, took a picture, right? This under hypnosis, no, he left Ilkley Moor and then returned. And when he returned, that's when he had the camera, and that's when he took the now famous photograph. He said that the alien in the image, instead of telling him to stay away, was waving goodbye. That's right. So there you go. That's it. Now that's Ilkley Moor. I have, if you don't have, I do. Let me pull up my images of Ilkley Moor.
And while you do that, Lori,
Yes.
thank you so much for that. And Alien Frog brings up a really interesting point here. It says nuclear power plants are often located near large bodies of water to help with cooling and other benefits. UAPs have been purported to be radioactive, and water could serve a similar purpose. This is interesting because you bring up a great point that isn't discussed that often, and I'm thank you for that. We love reading your comments. Also, right now we have 620 people watching this live. Only 268 likes. If you're liking the show, hit that like button, because you know what? Today Jimmy is on the ball. He knows his stuff today, and he's just like bam, 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 bam. So if you appreciate it, like I do, hit that like button just right down below. And
fresh coffee. This is UFO coffee talk.
It is, and it's surprising that only half of you guys are enjoying the show. So if
they're all enjoying the show. They're too fat and fixated on the knowledge and the content, and that's it. So everybody, let's take a break. Hit that like button. Come on, let's crank this up. I mean, what's the number? 400 minimum. That's or I minimum. Leave. or I leave.
Well,
So,
something else to mention. Actually, no. Show us this
okay,
picture and the story behind it.
Ilkley Moor. There's the alien. Here's the path. He's up on the hill, and there you go. This is obviously not the original photograph, but I do have. Well, I've got this one that Cristina had, but I've got this. This is an enhanced version of it. I apologize for the pixelization, but this is as good as I can get. Pretty interesting, Cristina. It is what he says he saw, which is a little green man.
And people always say, show us the alien, show us the pictures. In this case, here is potentially one. Now, could this have been hoax? Could it be someone in a costume? Possibly. I don't see why not. People are very creative. But in this image, what we can see some very important features, such as a very big head and very, very long arms as well.
Yeah. And this image here that has been around for a very long time. So the one on the left is the original. The one in the middle is a contrasted version, and then the one on the right has been colorized and having the green. But the image on the left is the original taken from this. All right, and so there you go. The other images that are out there, and you can go and see them, but they've got clear copyright. They're clear, but I'm not here to get people in trouble. So.
Well, I get the impression that whatever it is kind of like staggering or is having some kind of difficulty from that image. Can you pull it back up, Jimmy, just for a moment?
Which one?
One of that being thing. Because I want people just to understand kind of what I'm seeing. Because could it be that our gravity is just higher than where it originates from? I mean, that's kind of what I'm asking myself here.
Yeah. We humans, Homo sapien, we've got gravity on Earth. That's a fact. Our muscles and the way that we walk upright and balance and everything else is based on that gravity. Okay. But if you were on a planet with half the gravity, half the muscles, half the bone mass, right? You would be skinnier. So then you turn around. That's why we can jump so high on the moon. Right. So think about that. So if an alien, with less bone and muscle mass comes here and they're not used to it, they would struggle for sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And not only that, but from what Sean is saying here, Ilkley Moor is roughed ground. And from the images that we saw and that we're looking at now, you're dealing with terrain that isn't flat. There's rocks everywhere. There's brush. Even your average Joe would struggle a little bit if it was their first time there.
Yeah, which image? Oh, I pulled up the wrong image. What's going on?
No, the one this one's fine, but I'm just saying we've shown images of the hill, and we've shown this one where the terrain isn't flat; it's rough ground, as Sean had mentioned.
Right. Let me back up here. For some reason, let me remove this. Okay, so if I go. You would think that by now, Cristina, I mean, by today, I would have this a little smoother, but apparently I do not. You're talking about this image here.
Yes.
Okay. So there. Now he says, okay, so when I look at this image, I see a couple of things. And so I see one arm come. This arm, it looks like a hand right here. Do you see that? So I guess that's the gesture, or that's the alien putting its hand down, right? Because he said it was waving goodbye. It's not waving goodbye here. It looks like it's breathing heavy. It looks like me in the Andes at 13,000 feet a couple of weeks ago. Because. He does. He looks like he's struggling. And if you go back here, look at the path, right? You see that? That's a heck of a hill. So that's somebody struggling to come up on the hill for sure. What do you want to do next? Looking at the clock, we've got lots to cover today.
I'll let you pick the next one. I picked the first two.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go with, let's see here. Let's go. Oh, you know what? Let's go here. Let's go with Hopkinsville.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, let's go with Hopkinsville, 1955, because I mentioned this earlier. Hopkinsville, 1955. It's known by a few. You can look up this case, a very famous case. Lots of documentation. The Kelly Hopkinsville encounter. It's also known as the Hopkinsville Goblins case, or the Kelly Green Men case. It was a close encounter with extraterrestrial beings in 1955 near the communities of Kelly and Hopkinsville in Christian County, Kentucky. Most would think Kelly was a name of one of the people involved. No, that was one of the towns. Kelly and the town of Kelly and the town of Hopkinsville touch. They're right next to each other. But as I said before, that's right. This is where the term Little Green Men comes from. That's right. It was local reporters in the area that were covering the case at that time that started to call the creatures Little Green Men. And the words were soon reproduced so much and mentioned in newspapers, quoted on the radio, all around the country. It was translated into other languages. And so there you go. It was born in 1955. Now, there were a couple of comments in a couple of books, 1951, 1952, books about Martians and ideas and some science fiction stuff that talked about green creatures. But Little Green Men started in Hopkinsville in 1955. The United States Air Force classified the alleged incident as a hoax in the Project Blue Book files. It was investigated by Project Blue Book. On the evening of August 21st, 1955, 5 adults, 7 children arrived at the police station claiming that small alien creatures from a spaceship were attacking their farmhouse and that they had been holding them off with gunfire. That's how you do it in Kentucky, man. That's how you do it in Kentucky. And they said that this was going on for nearly 4 hours. They were freaked out. 7 kids, 5 adults show up. They want the police to come in and intervene. 2 of the adults, Elmer Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor, I'm not making those names up, by the way, claimed they had been shooting at a few, the key word here is like 3, a few, short, dark figures who repeatedly popped up in the doorway or started to look into the windows. The Kentucky New Era, the first newspaper to report the incident, said the number was actually 12 to 15 aliens, and that was directly quoted from the paper. Residents of the farmhouse included, are you ready for this? It's kind of rare to have this kind of documentation. We have everybody's names. We have Glennie Langford, her children, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary, 2 sons from a previous marriage, Elmer Lucky Sutton, John Charlie J.C. Sutton, and their respective wives, Vera and Eileen. Eileen's brother, O.P. Baker, and Billy Ray Taylor and his wife, June. We've got everybody there by name. Both the Taylors, Lucky and Vera Sutton, were reportedly carnival workers who were visiting the farmhouse. The next day, neighbors told the police that the families just packed up and left town, claiming the neighbors said that the creatures returned at 3:30 in the morning. Fascinating case. And now you know that's where Little Green Men come from.
And these entities were described as being about 3.5 feet tall, with large round heads, long arms, and glowing yellow eyes. And here is a rendition of what this family saw that night. But on top of that, what's interesting is that Billy Ray Taylor, visiting from Pennsylvania with his wife, before getting into their family's home or friend's home, they witnessed a bright, silent silver object with multicolored exhaust flying towards the house. And that's
Mhm.
why this case is so crucial for today's story, is that someone saw a craft and then they saw these entities, extraterrestrials, beings, whatever you want to call them. And what they noticed here is in the interviews that they gave, to the point where they had to stop giving them and they had to just, I believe, they just, what, they fenced up the whole house or they moved because they were just getting so much publicity. But first of all, they were terrified, and these entities seemed rather intelligent. They were scratching at the door, scratching at the walls, attempting to get in the house. There was a lot of fear in this particular case. This family, the friends, they were very nervous, and they shot what they shot out of their house to entities that they could not see very properly. And one of them had mentioned that he believed that he did shoot one of the entities, but there wasn't any blood on the ground. And even the dogs were going berserk. And that is nothing new when it comes to any case such as this one. If you have pets, any kind of pets, usually dogs, they
Yes.
sense it beforehand and then they go either into like full aggression mode or absolute fear.
Now,
A little bit of
I'm
both.
going to, and this is, there's so many interesting aspects to this case, but this is where I've got to put the Jimmy brain onto this. You know what the last resort is for anybody? Going to the police station. That's the last resort. That's the last thing you do. On the list, you can have, guns. You can have running away. You can have hiding under your bed covers. There's a whole list of things that will happen before you get to the very last resort, going to the police station. Nobody does that. You just don't do that, right? Let alone everybody, right? All the adults, the 7 kids, because they need safety and shelter, and that's it. They've got guns. They were armed. They were shooting. They shot probably till their fingers got 4 hours of this. They're like, well, this isn't working. We've got to go to the police station. That's the interesting part about this, Cristina. It's the last resort. People just take care of their own business. You're not going to involve the police. You're just not going to do it, especially when it comes to aliens and flying saucers. It's not going to happen.
And the
That's
police, well,
exactly,
not just that, but the police didn't really give them justice because, as Tyler had mentioned, they're just circus monkeys that escaped. That was the explanation that was given for these, quote, little green men. And we have to thank them for that term that now hasn't died. Okay?
yeah.
People
You
are
guys
still
didn't
using it.
hear? You guys didn't hear? The monkeys escaped from the zoo, right?
Yeah, come on, get with it. Get
Come
with the
on,
program.
man. Yeah, don't waste our time. Yeah, I know exactly. Fascinating case, and now you know, right? Now you know. Now you know. Today it's Education Day here on Mysteries with the History, and
He brought his thinking cap with him today.
we're getting it done. We are. I'm in a great mood. It's called rest.
Ooh,
Been
that's a rare thing.
Yeah, I've been
Bless your
globetrotting.
heart.
Okay. Can I keep the education? Do you have anything else to add to this?
Yes, just one more thing to add about this case is, so you mentioned the police station, and then it was also joined by state police and then also the military police from Fort Campbell, and even a local photographer was there, and they investigated the farm but found no concrete evidence beyond the shell casings from the guns. And then obviously here is that image that was ended up being posted in the newspaper.
Yeah, the Kentucky New Era.
It's a
Yeah.
pretty sick name.
The story of spaceship 12 little men probed today. You gotta love that headline, right? Okay. So now, since we are of the teaching mode today, I'm gonna teach everybody a little more something. Okay, and that is Broadhaven. And what is interesting about Broadhaven and its incidents, that's got to be plural, started on February 4th, 1977. But Broadhaven itself is a village, and it's a seaside resort in the southeast corner of St. Bride's Bay in South Pembrokeshire, Wales. Okay. All right. Now here's there they are. All right. So we're going to talk about what is it about flying saucers in schools? I mean, isn't that's a trippy thing. Okay. So in 1977, the area was the scene of an alleged UFO string of sightings, and nicknamed, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The Welsh Triangle.
Nice.
Let's continue. Broadhaven Triangle, or the Dyfed Triangle, in the manner of the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, all right. Is everybody now learning something? It all began back on February 4th, 1977, when a yellow cigar-shaped craft landed in a field next to Broadhaven Primary School with a group of, and you can see them there, 14 children watching the entire incident. And, are you ready? A silver creature came out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun. Yeah. Then it doesn't stop there, though. All right. There's a reason why it's called the Broadhaven Triangle. Again, I'm here I'm sharing the knowledge. On February 17th, that was February 4th. So 2 weeks later, February 17th, 1977, the same craft was seen by teachers at the same school and with a host of other witnesses, this time adults. Yeah. And then 2 days later, two days later. Now, they describe the same craft, by the way, yellow and cigar shaped. And can we stop there for a second before I get to the third sighting that happened in February, and the next one was in April? Is that when people, I've never seen a cigar shaped craft. Okay. So cigar shaped says to me, I'm just going to grab this flashlight, right? That's a cigar shape, right? Right? Dig what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when people describe a cigar shaped craft, are they describing something with this shape? Or are they talking about something like, let me find something. I got to be faster than this. Okay. No, that's not fast enough. Hold on. I don't have anything round. Oh, here we go. Perfect. iPhone earbuds case. So, are they describing the side view of something that's shaped like this? Do you follow me? So when they say cigar shape, are they looking at something that is shaped like a tube, or are they seeing this, right, and not this?
Right, the perspective.
The perspective, because I've never seen a cigar-shaped craft. I've seen rockets take off, but I've never seen a UFO like this come across the sky. That I've never seen, but we hear this all the time, a cigar-shaped craft. So are we looking at something sideways?
No, but you bring up a really interesting point. You use the comparison of rockets. This is brilliant. Do you think that a rocket would be classified as a cigar-shaped object?
I would describe it that way if I had to. Yeah. But then again, see, it's all about, it is the question of perspectives. Because unless you can see something from two sides or three sides, would you necessarily know that a rocket is shaped like this, right? Would you know that unless you could see it from multiple sides? I've seen so much stuff, Cristina. I've never seen. I'm waiting for my first cigar-shaped craft. But these adults on February 17th described the craft the same way, and also yellow, which I find that very interesting too. Not silver, not black, not glowing, but yellow. And then a month later, on April 19th, 1977, the owner of the Haven Fort Hotel in Little Haven saw an upside down saucer. Okay. Again, very strange description. Upside down saucer in a neighboring field, and two humanoid creatures. An investigator from the Ministry of Defense, the MOD, it wasn't Nick Pope, by the way. I don't think Nick Pope was born yet, said that they were unable to find any evidence of the landings. These sightings sparked an explosion of UFO contact in the area, with more than 450 reports, Cristina, 450 reports in and around the Broad Haven area. Thus, there's going to be a pop quiz. Thus, they made headlines all over the world, and the name Broad Haven Triangle was born. There you go.
And these kids from the first sighting, February 4th, 1977, they were about 14 kids, and they aged between 9 and 11, and they said that they saw a humanoid being coming out of the craft with pointed ears, was in a silver suit, and exited the craft to explore the nearby area. And so a question that I think we need to ask here is, why investigate a playground or in an area in a school versus a field where there's nobody, or in a field that has a ton of people of all different ages, right? Why there specifically? Because as you had mentioned, Jimmy, this is not the first time this has happened. There have been a handful of cases where extraterrestrials have been seen visiting schools around the world. And in the comments, people are mentioning the Ariel School, which is one of the most famous ones now. And we have to ask ourselves why. Also, we have 675 people watching this live, 461 likes. We're so close to 500. If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button just right down below. But Jimmy, tell me your thoughts on this. In your opinion, putting on your Jimmy Church hat, why do you think that is?
If you stop and think about it, ET has been, doesn't matter what part of the Milky Way or the universe, but multiple civilizations have been aware and have been watching and coming to Earth for millions of years. And they know all about us humans. They know about Elvis Presley. They know about Van Halen. They know about Da Vinci, maybe even Jesus. Right? They've been studying us. They know what freaks us out. They know what our concerns are, what our fears, our likes, our dislikes, what makes us happy, what makes us sad. They know all of these things, okay? You know what else they know about us? That kids are not predetermined to freak out, right? And they are at an age where they remember, they are learning, and they are discovering, as opposed to adults with their closed minds, right? So they would know this in advance. So why not go to a schoolyard and say hello? Right? And that makes the most sense to me. If you just look at it that way, if you land on the White House lawn, you're going to get a different reaction than if you land at Broadhaven Primary School in Broadhaven, Wales. And that's what makes the most sense to me.
It's an interesting point to make, because children are like sponges. We hear that time and time again, either if you've taken a class in child psychology or if you have children, nieces or nephews, doesn't matter. when you are a certain age, up until like your preteens, really into your teen years, that's kind of when you stop absorbing stuff at the same pace as young children from the age of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Now, these kids were between the ages of 9 and 11, and this is a really interesting time frame for a child's brain development because they are smart enough to answer to do basic problem solving. They're able to read and do pretty good math at this point in time, and yet they are still absorbing all the information that their environment has to give to them, and they're also still discovering themselves up until you're like 70 years old. You're still trying to figure it out. But during this age frame of between 9 and 11, it's a very tender time because you're not a preteen just yet. You're not going through puberty just yet. Maybe just a little bit there. But it's something that I found really compelling that these entities were visiting this particular, not like time frame, but this like age range of kids, not
Yes,
those that are 5,
She's
not
a
those
great
that are
point.
teenagers, but that kind of in between.
And then what do you do? What do you do? Then you appear in front of the adults because you know what the adults are saying. It's your imaginary friends. You guys are making it up. You guys are and the kids are like, no, we weren't. We saw it. And then the adults see it. Right. And then back up the kid. I guess you guys really did see what you saw. Oh. And if you look at it in those terms, kind of like Ariel, right? Very similar. You had just enough adults, right? And what about Westall over in Australia, in Sydney in 1966? Same situation, right? So you've got 200 kids out outside seeing this craft fly across the sky and land. What happens next? Craft takes off and lands in the town square, right in the street. Right? Think about that. Very, very, very similar situations about, and if you think about this, 10 years apart. 10 years, you had Westall. 10 years later, you have Wales. And then 15 years later, 20 years later, you had the Ariel School in Zimbabwe. Yeah. And how would those kids have known about these different incidents? Right? How would somebody in Wales know about a 10-year-old in 1977 know about Westall in 1966? Wouldn't happen. This UFO community barely has a grasp on that, let alone something like that. Right? Now go to Zimbabwe. Right? Zimbabwe in Africa. How are those school children going to know anything about, right, Broadhaven or Westall? They wouldn't. But the cases are eerily similar. I mean, almost the same. Beings come out of the craft and go, yo, what's up? Right? Think about that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I believe we had the MOD involved with Broadhaven. We had the Australian Air Force and the United States Air Force involved in Westall. And then, of course, we had Dr. John Mack and the investigation and the news coverage over in Ariel. So, yeah, very, very heavy investigation with kids with the drawings. All three cases. Yeah, strange.
That's one of the most compelling aspects of it. And we can bring in the quote of children are the future. You have to make sure that they grow up right in order for us and like older generations to have a better and brighter future. So when you give them a proper foundation, showing them letting them have these kinds of experiences, talking about these cases, it will open up their minds to where they can have serious conversations about things like this and then become the future scientists, doctors, lawyers, teachers, so on and so forth, to allow other people to be open-minded about these topics instead of placing it in the category of ridicule, saying you're out of your mind. At some point in time, and we're already heading in that direction, to where we are able to have these conversations in such a serious manner that people aren't brushing you off the same like they used to. Now it's like, oh, tell me more, or yeah, obviously, duh, I already knew about that. But it had to start off with children such as these to pave the way for people such as ourselves to have these conversations so freely. And a lot of people are placing in their comments on the question that I asked, and many of them are saying children are innocent. They don't have a bias. They don't have the same filters like adults do. They haven't gone through as many experiences as adults. So when they see something, they see it for the first time, and they have nowhere in their mind to conceptualize it of, oh, it's obviously a helicopter. It's obviously my imagination. They're seeing it as it is. But the older you get and the more you go through in life, you begin to place your experiences in certain categories and boxes in your mind of, okay, I've been through this before. It must be in this category. Okay, I've been through that before. It must follow in that box, so on and so forth. And that could potentially be another reason to why these craft and these beings are showing themselves to children more so than adults. But people have been seeing weird things in the skies, have had their own types of experiences and encounters for millennia, both dealing with children and adults. But when we're dealing with children, it's just a little bit more compelling, at least in my opinion, compared to adults.
Well, isn't it fascinating how although scientifically we should investigate this a little more, but kids will talk about their imaginary friends, their invisible friends. Now, I never did. And I had heard talk, right, when I was a kid, of other kids that had their imaginary friends, and I would see stuff on TV about this and whatever. I never did. I never had an imaginary friend. But one would have to ask, why is it that that kind of paranormal, supernatural, science fiction, whatever you want to call it, is revealing itself to a child? Well, or is it the opposite, that the child has the ability, because they don't have pop culture, blocking off their vision? You know what I mean, Cristina? Where they do see what is out there in front of them, and they are not. There is things are made invisible. Okay, when you become an adult, you see the way that your brain processes and sees things. It's processing. As you get older, your brain is getting more and more full of stuff. So when you are scanning the world and walking around and looking, your brain is automatically replacing stuff that you see with other images. So you don't have to constantly think. You don't have to go and look at a red car. Your brain is telling you that a red car is over there. That's the way that our brains work. So if there is something strange over here, you don't see it. You don't necessarily see it. You're blind to things all the time. You've seen the videos where people are walking by in the video, and then you see the gorilla walk by in the background, but you don't see the gorilla walk by in the background because you're looking at it. It's invisible to you. You just don't see it. It's the same processes that go on. But when you're a child, your brain hasn't developed like that yet. So you're still seeing everything. And it makes a lot of sense that where adults aren't able to process some of the fantastical that's going on in front of them because it's actually invisible to them. Their brain isn't processing it. And we have to take all of that into account. That's why kids see what they do. And this is just a scientific fact. This is the way that the brain works. It's not paranormal crazy talk. It's just nature and the way that we develop.
Now, if a kid tells you that they have an imaginary friend, be nice to them. Because what if it's actually a super angry kid ghost that will tell the kid, hey, you should bite that person's arm off because they don't believe in me. So whenever a kid says, hey, I have an imaginary friend or a sibling, I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to be super nice now.
Yeah, you are. You don't want go put salt in your parents' pudding. You don't want that. You don't want that. You know what? You know what? Yeah, absolutely. So, but anyway, that's my take on. I know it was a little long-winded, but there's reasons why I think the way that I do when it comes to the interaction of kids. And when we look at, there's many other schools. There was another incident. I'll think of it here in a second. I just remembered it. There was a high school soccer match going on. And I believe it might have been Mexico. I could have the country wrong. Wasn't in the United States. But so you got a schoolyard, full of a couple of thousand spectators watching, and everybody falls silent. And the soccer match is going on, but nobody's yelling because everybody's looking up. It's a friggin' flying saucer hovering over the soccer match. Made the newspapers, got a couple of pictures, and that was over a high school. So I think it happens more than we know.
Gosh, now this case is going to itch my brain because I know which one you're talking about, and I just don't know what it's called.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. Okay, let's see what else do we have before.
We have one more case, and this one we're just going to briefly cover, because we've covered it before, but it's worth mentioning for today's show, especially for all of our first-time viewers and listeners, and those that be decently new to the topic. So this is going to be the Antonio case in Brazil. I'm going to share an image here. There it is. I'll just make this, like I said, just kind of quick.
Antonio Villas. Boas. This case, we have. Oh, look, it's Mark Tasaka. No way, Mark Tasaka. Man, yeah, the family, the circle has been completed on today's show. This case, it's the ending of the case that I'll get to in just a second, Cristina. It's a crazy case. It's got everything, because this happened in 1957, 16th of October to be exact, in 1957, when Antonio made the claims to have been abducted and examined and had sex with aliens. And he said all of this happened on board the UFO, the craft, the flying saucer. At the time of the abduction, he was a farmer. Now, this happened in Brazil. He was 23 years old. And again, I want everybody to know, we're going to have a test, we're going to have a pop quiz, that at the time he was a 23-year-old farmer. It's what he did for the rest of his life that was so interesting, that I just found so compelling. But at the time, he's a farmer. He's out working at night because it was cooler. During the day, it was very hot. October 15th, 1957, he was plowing fields near Sao Francisco de Sales when he saw what he described as a red star in the sky. According to a story, the star then approached to where he was plowing the field, getting bigger and bigger in size until it became recognizable. He said it was a circular egg-shaped craft. Very interesting. And it was red. Now, he said it was red on the front, but on the top, it had a rotating light on the top. Now, however you want to interpret that, flashing light, like a police light, rotating light, or was it a ring of lights? But the lights on the top were rotating. The lights on the bottom in front of the craft were red. The craft was growing red. It began descending. It landed in the field. As it approached the ground, 3 legs extended out, and then it landed. At that point, he decides to run. Smart man. So he turns around and he books it. But he got intercepted by an alien. and was abducted. He was then taken onto the craft. Once inside, okay, are you ready? He was stripped of his clothes and he was covered head to toe, this is his words, with a gel. Now, let's go to 1957, Cristina. You think in 1957, people were describing contact with aliens in this fashion? No. This is like a very unique situation.
Especially because the first really famous abduction took place in 1961 with the Betty and Barney Hill incident. So for 57 to come along and Antonio is telling the story, it's really out of the blue. People were shocked by this, especially going into detail of seeing this red star in the sky, being abducted, and then having a I guess the word would be like a romantic event took place on that ship. And this gel that was mentioned by Antonio, he later believed it to be a type of like aphrodisiac to create to just create the mood, because obviously anyone would be in extreme fear to be captured by two entities, dragged onto a ship, clothes no longer on, and then he has to
Well, okay, let's back up. Let's back up. Let's back up. A couple of things happened in between the interlude, however we want to describe that. He said that he was taken into this room. He is naked. He's got this gel on him, but he didn't understand what was going on. And then a gas came in the room, and he got violently ill. That's how he described it with the gas. So he's covered in this gel. He's naked, covered in this gel. They then introduce this gas. He gets sick. They take him into this other room. He sits there for about 30 minutes. They take him out of that room and into another room where this female comes in, humanoid. He didn't describe her as a humanoid. But what was very strange about this, oh man, hold on. I got Jordan Ziff, the rock star, calling me.
All right.
Hey, Jordan, I'm live on the air.
So while he is doing that, going into more detail on this, he had mentioned that it was a beautiful woman, but yes, not entirely humanoid. And then what happened next, Jimmy?
He said that she had white hair, which was weird, like platinum blonde. And she had blue eyes. And he described the other hair on her body as being red. So that I always found that very strange, and it was a weird thing for him to say. He said that when he was joined, he did with a woman, female. He didn't say woman, female, with the white hair. That she was attractive. Right. And I thought, what would an alien? Would you find an alien? It's a human. Finding a human attractive is one thing, but attracted to another species, like sexually, I thought that was pretty strange that he used that word attractive. But then he said this. He said that they had sex, but they didn't kiss. She bit him. Yeah. Again, very strange thing for 1957. I mean, this is 57. This isn't 2022. This is 1957. He said then when it was all over, that she stood in front of him. She rubbed her belly, and while she was rubbing her belly like this, she pointed at the stars and rubbed her belly at the same time. And again, a very strange thing for 1957. Later, he goes to school. Antonio goes from being a farmer plowing fields in Brazil to becoming a lawyer, Cristina. He ended up having 4 children, and for the rest of his life, he was 23 in 1957. For the rest of his life, he stuck to his story. He never changed his story, never changed anything about the abduction for his entire life. He died on January 17th, 1991.
This is one of the cases that is truly bizarre in many aspects, but particularly in this one, dealing with this kind of abduction, it's very detailed and very vivid compared to others that can be a bit more of an examination and very, very fearful. In this case, for Antonio Villas-Boas, it was just a different thing altogether, because there have been a handful of alleged cases where those that have been allegedly abducted, they just place a needle in the stomach area or anywhere and secrete the reproductive items that they need from the body. In this case, it was all very physical, but to why we're bringing this case up is because Antonio first saw a red star, this huge ball of light, before seeing an extraterrestrial. And then on top of that, it's believed, at least as the story goes, that he created some kind of hybrid. Now, did he ever have contact with
Yeah, I know.
the...
Yeah.
Well, he
Big
didn't. No, he
question,
didn't have
right?
any. Exactly. That's the biggest question: is did he keep in contact with the mother of his child? Because there are a few cases, alleged cases, of course, where people that have created hybrids at times are able to at least see them at least once. They're the thing that they created, and many other instances they're never to be seen again. And that's why this particular case is so compelling and why a lot of people talk about it as well. But I did want to just lay down a few other famous cases, just naming them. Of course, we have the Betty and Barney Hill abduction in 1961, where they saw a UFO and then they got abducted. You had the Travis Walton abduction in 1975, the Pascagoula abduction in 1973, the Agalash abduction in 1976. And all of those, they saw a craft and then they saw beings right afterward. So
What do you make of as I know we're running out of time, but here is the question that is just and I just got back from South America. What is it about Brazil? Now, I just got back from Peru. Peru is nuts, and we just did a show on that. Peru is nuts. There's no question about it. We've got alien mummies, we've got contact, and we've got thousands and thousands of years of just advanced stuff going on in Peru. And then you shift things over to Brazil, where the most insane UFO contact and abduction cases, like in history, have all occurred there. What is it about? You don't hear about abduction cases in from Ecuador, from Paraguay, even Mexico, with all of the artifacts and all of the things that are happening in and around Mexico, and certainly the ancient cultures in the mind. You don't hear about abductions. But Brazil is like the abduction capital of the world, outside of Louisiana, of course. I said it. I did. I said it. But, what is it, Cristina? What is it about Brazil?
And to give people a little bit of context, some other cases that have taken place that are very famous is like the Colares, Brazil incident that took place in 1977. And then you also have the Varginha, Brazil incident as well. And there's a handful of others, but those are the most famous ones. And this is a great question. I actually did a show on UFO and alien encounters in South America. Why is it in South America? It's just so much more violent than any other continent, at least to our knowledge and our understanding, right? So when it comes to Brazil, first, you're dealing with just a ton of land, number one. Number two, there's only parts of Brazil that are highly populated, referring to the big cities, right? But could there be, maybe, and I'm just guessing here, could there be a type of veil, or like a very thin veil, or a portal that has created or manifested there compared to other parts of the world, to where these I'm going to say it, like these unregulated extraterrestrials are doing as they please compared to other parts, because people have this, and you have two camps. You have those that believe that all ET are our space brothers. They're here to help us advance. They're super amazing. They're going to cure cancer and save the world. Then you have another aspect that say, nope, they're an absolute threat. They're here to just take our life force, devour us in some way, and we're just merely a farm for them. Right? And you don't usually have an in between. Sometimes you do, but they're a little bit more rare. And the question is, why? And when we begin to ask these questions, it goes far beyond the UFO phenomenon, but it makes us question everything about our reality. It makes us question things about life altogether. Why do things happen the way they do? Is it merely all an illusion? And we can go on and on and on all of these different types of questions. But to answer yours, it is very difficult to say. However, Brazil has been categorized, at least in our minds here on this channel, at the very least. It's just one of those almost very scary, very dangerous places when it comes to people having UFO sightings, extraterrestrial encounters in that area alone.
If you were arriving here on the planet, right? You got your craft and you're coming into the atmosphere. Maybe you do a lap or two around the world, right?
Smart. Gotta feel it out.
Yeah, got to feel it out a little bit. And you're looking out the window, right? And kind of checking things out. You would probably fly past New York, right? You'd fly past London. You'd fly past Paris. You'd fly past, Moscow, Hong Kong, Beijing. Those don't look like fun places, right? But you go and you fly over something like Brazil. Yeah, that would look more inviting to me than Africa, the Sahara Desert, right? Why would you want to put your craft down there? Why would you want to go and check things out? The Kansas and the flatlands of the United States, cool place to, but is that interesting? Right? Or Brazil.
Got the Amazon rainforest. You got great food.
Got a good coastline, right? You got nice beaches. But Brazil's kind of got it all. So does Peru. It's got some of the same appealing things. But yeah, I would say Brazil is pretty inviting. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. And I'm not trying to be cavalier or anything like that, but there are reasons why I would fly over Chicago and not, or Detroit or Cleveland. Is London really, if you were flying over it, would you? No, probably not. But Brazil, yeah, maybe so. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense now.
That, or maybe Costa Rica. Feel like my second go-to.
Costa Rica. That's why the Mayans are there. Costa Rica, Belize, Guatemala, right? All of that. The Yucatan Peninsula. Think about that. Yeah. All of the Caribbean. Makes a lot of sense. All right, Cristina, listen, thank you so much. Great show today. I'm just so glad to be back, and we're heading into the holidays too as well. I can't believe it. I'm having a little thing this weekend, and it's going to be great to just. I was watching. Have you seen Monarch yet? Have you seen that?
I just started watching it.
Yeah, Legacy of Monsters. Okay, well, let's put the monsters aside of it, monster part of it to the side. But there was a scene in episode 1. One of the characters, I don't want to give anything away, and I'm not, is walking through an airport, going through customs, getting her passport stamped, right? And I'm like, I don't want to do that ever again. Right? That's all I do, like travel to. And so finally, right, I'm not in an airport. I'm not doing anything. I get to spend the holidays here at home, and it's just an amazing feeling. And monsters, a monarch, and all of that. It's great to, but I was like traumatized for a second. Yeah, I was traumatized. I'm not doing that, so that's what I'm going to do this weekend. I get to hang out with some friends and start celebrating into. Can you believe it? What's today? We're 10 days away from Christmas Eve. Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. How many likes did we end up with today? Where are we at?
I can tell you that.
Well,
or someone else can tell me really quick.
578.
Ooh, it's pretty close.
578. Everybody, I'll see you tonight on Fade to Black. I've got who do I have on tonight? Oh, Mark Hartzman is on with us tonight. And I cannot wait to talk to Mark. And we're going to be just talking about what we're talking about right now. We're going to go a little bit deeper, but we are not alone. All of that and much more tonight on Fade to Black. Cristina, I'll talk to you soon. Behave.
Thanks, Jimmy. Another great show, as it always is. If you enjoyed it, please share the link to this show on Twitter and on Facebook. If you're on those platforms, let's get to 600 likes before we end today's show. We have 636 people watching this live, so hit that like button right down below. It is the easiest way to support this channel. By the way, fun little fact is if you need help falling asleep, relaxing, meditating, or using your imagination to wander the universe, take a look at my space ambient music channel called Cosmic Portals. It's a still kind of a fresh channel, about 1,000 subscribers right now, but that's where I make my space ambient music. Helps me relax, helps with my insomnia, and I wanted to help you as well if you need help relaxing, meditating, or just taking a little journey in your mind. That link will be in the live chat for you. Also, follow me on Twitter at eyes_ for all of my updates and news, and also on Instagram at Strange Paradigms, where I share pictures and short videos. Tomorrow is going to be Weekly Strange News. That show will be live, as all of our shows are right here on this channel. So please subscribe if you haven't already, but also hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the live shows that we do right here on this channel, which is 3 a week, every single week. Also, if you want to continue the conversation, bring it over to the Discord server with 2,700 other like-minded members. Share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, and more. And Clean House, thank you for that. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Lastly, if you are enjoying all the content that you are seeing on this channel, consider being a Patreon supporter, where all the funding goes straight to the channel, to Puck Wedgie, and to the RV Fund, where I'll be traveling the U.S., hitting all the UFO and paranormal hotspots, documenting it, and taking you on the journey with me. And let me just tell you, I'm really excited. There's some big changes happening right here, right now, as we speak. So 2024 is going to be a hot year when it comes to this particular channel. So subscribe if you haven't done it already, because we're going to see some big changes coming along the way. That is it for today. I will see you tomorrow. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.